Some good and a lot of ugly for the SEC so far this bowl season. Disappointing losses yesterday for South Carolina and Alabama. What does it mean for the conference? Locked On SEC starts right now.
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what's happening, everybody? Welcome to Locked On SEC. It's great to have you guys along. I'm Chris Gordy. Thanks for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Shout out to everydayers. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. And Happy New Year, everybody. 2025 is upon us. Will your team win the national championship in 2025? Well, Georgia and Texas fans certainly hoping that, but some other teams finishing off their seasons yesterday, and there was some ugly. We're going to start with the ugly. The SEC, by the way, 6-5 this bowl season, if we're counting the two playoff games. So, or the several playoff games, Georgia and Texas and whatever. But Tennessee, that was not good. But the ugly yesterday, we'll start with Shane Beamer as South Carolina fell to Illinois 21-17 in the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. Lenore Sellers threw for 260 and a score, while Oscar Attaway was the leading rusher with 69 rushing yards and a score. But it was an incident in the game that grabbed headlines. Shane Beamer and Bret Bielema squaring off in a spicy Cheez-It Bowl late in the third quarter, and a Illini player was injured, and on the field near the South Carolina sideline, Bret Bielema made his way all the way across the field to check on his player, but it was what happened right after. Bielema trolling Shane Beamer by flashing the substitution signal at the Gamecocks. During the first half, Beamer was frustrated on multiple times with Illinois taking advantage of substitution rules on defense to milk the play clock away on South Carolina's offense. Beamer was visibly bothered by that tactic, and that led to Bret Bielema kind of trolling him. Beamer was so set off by the move that he had to be held back by officials and his coaching staff. For what it's worth, neither coach got a flag during the incident. But after the game, Shane Beamer talking about the taunt, he said, quote, "It's heated and competitive out there, but in all my years of being around football, I've never seen an opposing head coach come to the opposing team's sideline and basically make a gesture toward the opposing coach." Beamer called it Bush League. The interaction did fire up both sidelines, and a lot of folks took to social media about it. By the way, South Carolina was able to score a touchdown and take a 17-14 lead over the Illini, but the Fighting Illini, they responded with a touchdown of their own to make it 21-17 in the fourth quarter. The Illini forced a turnover on downs inside the 10-yard line on South Carolina's ensuing possession. It was the first ever meeting between South Carolina and Illinois. Wonder if we might have a rivalry brewing here between these two. But Bielema, he said after the game the situation was taken out of context. He insisted that his gesture had nothing to do with substitutions. It was not a taunt. He said he was giving the T-bar sign, which is used on kickoffs, to let the team know the ball will not be returned. The head coach added, while it's not illegal to return after giving the T-bar sign, he had never seen it done until South Carolina threw up the sign and still kicked the previous kickoff. He said he thought I did it at him. I did it the whole damn sideline. I wasn't doing it personally to him. I just wanted them to understand I know what just happened. It's nothing illegal. I've never seen it done at any level of college or pro. So that's Bielema's comments against Beamer. After the win, Illinois quarterback Luke Altmaier said that Illinois, they felt disrespected by the Gamecocks. He said that some of the Gamecock players thought the Illinois players were Syracuse at a team event. He said they were calling us Syracuse. They didn't even know who they were playing. Not that we needed any extra motivation, but that's all we needed to hear. Altmaier said, been hearing all this talk about SEC in the playoff and things like that, and just tired of the disrespect. Illinois has been a disrespected program for a long time. Of course, Altmaier grew up in Starkville, Mississippi, started his college career at Ole Miss. By the way, we had him on the show back a couple years ago at the Manning Passing Academy. But some other thoughts on the Gamecocks. Obviously, Lenore Sellers, everybody's excited about him coming back next year. We talked a few days ago about him getting that big NIL deal to stick around and come back for another year. But as for some other Gamecocks, well, DB Nick Emanwari played just one half of the Citrus Bowl on Tuesday, and according to reports, it was by design. The safety told reporters after the game his plan was to play just one half and then sit, and he will enter the 2025 NFL draft. Shane Beamer was asked about it after the game. He said, it's an internal team matter. I'm not going to discuss it. So you got to wonder, did even Warren talk with his coaching staff about it, or at halftime just go, hey, I'm not playing this half, guys? Linebacker Demetrius Knight talked about his decision to play in the game afterwards. He said, look, it's going to be a tough one to look back at, but we finished on a strong note. He said, I played on all 4 quarters. I have no regrets. And obviously it was a great season at South Carolina, all things considered. Defensive tackle C.J. Sanders asked after the game, hey, you have another year of eligibility. You going to use it? He just said simply, I'm gone. Shane Beamer did say after the game, we have a hurt locker room. A lot of guys who poured their heart and soul into Gamecock football, wanted so much for them to get a 10th win. So they have a lot of motivation looking ahead to 2025. So South Carolina, tough finish this season, but a lot of reason for optimism moving forward. How about over at Alabama? We know the Alabama standard that Nick Saban created, but yesterday on New Year's Eve, there was nothing to toast for the Crimson Tide as they fell to Michigan Tuesday 19-13 in the ReliaQuest Bowl in Tampa. It was a sloppy game early, bad weather, a downpour led to some turnovers, and Alabama just playing sloppy football. But with the loss, Crimson Tide finished the season with fewer than 10 wins for the first time since 2007, which ironically was Nick Saban's first season at Alabama. So Alabama goes 9-4. DeBoer, 9-4. That was a reminder. All good things come to an end, and a tribute to what Alabama's been able to accomplish. The Crimson Tide, 16 straight 10-win seasons, an FBS record. And now suddenly the incredible streak comes to an end in DeBoer's first season. Oregon, Ohio State, and Georgia are the new active leaders in the 10-win category at 4 straight years. And all those teams, by the way, still alive in the playoffs. After the game, Brandon Marcello, he took to Twitter with some numbers for games when Alabama was favored by 14 points or more. Nick Saban held an overall record of 135-3 in games that they were favored by 14 points or more. Kalen DeBoer, he is 6-3 already in those situations. So already matched Nick Saban's loss total in games that they were favored by 14 points. But a lot of people very critical after the game of Jalen Milroe and his play in this one. And DeBoer, talking to reporters after the game, said he did not consider making a change in quarterback. He cited Milroe's ability as a runner. He said, look, I saw a fighter, a fight in his eyes. And as long as I see that, I want to hang in there with the guy that this program means a lot to. It was a bit of a downer season for Milroe compared to the numbers he put up last year. Saw regression in his touchdown to interception ratio. His passer efficiency rating also took a dip. And his future beyond this game remains uncertain. A lot of people expect he will declare for the NFL draft, depending on when you're listening to this. He may have already done it. But interestingly, Jordan Rodgers yesterday, speaking with Paul Feinbaum after the game, said he believes Jalen Milroe would benefit from another season in Tuscaloosa. He said, look, it's almost improbable how poorly he played. 2 fumbles, an interception in their first 3 possessions. But he followed up admitting he doesn't believe Milroe will be back, but he said he absolutely would want Milroe to take advantage of another season. He said, look, he's not going to come back, I don't think, but I think he absolutely should come back. You didn't see growth this year. You didn't see a guy develop as more than just an athlete. He's dynamic, and when he takes off and runs, some of the stuff that he does is unbelievable. But he did not develop as a passer within the pocket. Milroe was sacked 5 times. Rodgers pointed to a quarterback who was slow working through his progressions, saying he did not develop enough this year. And it's disappointing if you're an Alabama fan. I mean, all that talk about Kalen DeBoer and what he'd done at Indiana and then at Washington, and you look at Michael Penix down the NFL, you thought, oh, okay, he's going to be able to do that same thing with Jalen Milroe. Just did not come to fruition this year. And so, again, expect all signs point to Milroe heading to the NFL draft. But some out there thinking he could benefit from coming back another season. All right, more to come here on Locked On SEC. We'll get to some of the teams who picked up wins the last couple days in the SEC. It's not all downer. We'll talk about that next right here on Locked On SEC. Hey, want to remind you guys about our friends over at the Game Time app. Attending the new 12-team college football playoff games, an incredible experience that brings fans together like never before. You remember the excitement of all the past playoff games, and you can make some new memories. Of course, Game Time, they got a new feature called Game Time Picks that make getting tickets for events even easier. Filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Of course, use that Game Time Picks to find a ticket for an upcoming event. It is a breeze. You're in the browsing through the selection of tickets. The Super Deal in particular stands out as the best value for an event. You can see the seat views before you buy, and the app shows you the total cost upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. Plus, the on-time ticket delivery at lowest price guarantee give you complete peace of mind. Go take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege. Get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. It is last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, roll along here. Locked On SEC, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. We did have some more player interviews from Georgia Media Day the other day ahead of the Sugar Bowl against Notre Dame, so we will get to some of those before the show is over. But I did want to recap some of the teams that got wins the last couple days. And how about the LSU Tigers? They beat Baylor yesterday in the Texas Bowl, 44-31 to finish 9-4 on the season. Garrett Nussmeier led the way with over 300 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. Chris Hilton led the way, 4 catches, 113 yards, and a touchdown receiving. Trey'Dez Green, he also had 2 touchdowns. After the game, Nussmeier saying, it's definitely a good feeling to end the season with a win, something that we were looking forward to doing. It was one of our goals. Coach Brian Kelly said before the game, this is the start of 2025. So we wanted to make a statement and have that killer instinct. Brian Kelly said after the game, I know cynics would say it's disappointing type of season. It was a team that was less than perfect because of inexperience, but a team that gained experience. And to win 9 games and win 3 in a row to finish off the season, I'm happy for our football team. LSU scored in all 3 phases in this game. It wasn't just Nussmeier. Devon Keys had a pick 6 for 41 yards for a touchdown midway through the first quarter. And Xavier Thomas brought back a kickoff 95 yards for a score in the first half. So good things there. A little negative for LSU. Linebacker Whit Weeks left the game with an ankle injury in the first half. They put an air cast on his right leg as they carted him off the field. And a lot of reports out there that he's going to need some ankle surgery and will miss some time. So, look, it's January, so you got to wonder, okay, you're just counting him out for spring ball at this point. Still several months away. But, again, you would expect he would make a full recovery by the end of the summer and be ready to go for the fall. So something to keep an eye on there. But Whit Weeks, obviously one of LSU's leading tacklers, one of the leading tacklers in the SEC this season. So if you lose a guy, you lose him in a bowl game, at least he played the full season, but you just don't want him to be behind the 8 ball heading into next season. So congrats to LSU on the win. Another SEC team that got a win the other day. How about Mizzou winning their 10th game of the season Monday afternoon, defeating Iowa 27-24 in the Music City Bowl. It was a back-and-forth game, and the Tigers made some late-game heroics and a long field goal. But Brady Cook, hat tip to Brady Cook. His career at Mizzou caps off with a win, well-deserved, a second consecutive bowl victory, and 2 10-win seasons in a row. The only other full-time Mizzou quarterback that's done that, Chase Daniel, and that's it. So Brady Cook gets to put himself up there in the elite territory of Mizzou quarterbacks. And it was a game that saw him surpass Brad Smith on the all-time Mizzou passing list, threw for 341 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. And kudos to Mizzou's defense. Almost perfect in the second half. Held Iowa to just 3 points, had a massive interception, had a big 4th down stop. Corey Flagg just coming over the top like a madman. Kicker Blake Craig hitting kicks of 51 yards and 56 yards in the 4th quarter. And kudos Eli Drinkwitz too, man. Under pressure, a lot of people expected, is Mizzou going to take a step back this year? I remember I even talked about that in the summer, saying, it's hard to repeat when you have such a phenomenal season like they did last year. Now, we knew the schedule was forgiving, But 10-3 finish. Nice year for Missouri and the Mizzou Tigers. Really, really good stuff there. Following up their 10-win season from a year ago. A couple other SEC tidbits before we get to our Georgia content. Over at Arkansas, they had a nice performance from wide receiver Desmond James, the freshman, in their bowl game. Well, just 4 days after that win in Memphis in the Liberty Bowl, at 137 yards, a 94-yard touchdown, longest touchdown catch and longest pass play in Hogs history. Sounds like he's heading elsewhere. James has hit the transfer portal, and after 2 seasons at Fayetteville, and 6'2", 196 pounds from North Carolina, was playing the Liberty Bowl because Andrew Armstrong, Isaiah Satania, Andrew Armstrong is heading off to the NFL draft. Satania announced he was transferring to Oklahoma, so there was a hole there, and I'm sure Arkansas will try to do everything they can to keep Desmond James in the fold, but as of right now, it sounds like he's entering the portal and moving on. All right, let's get to the games happening today. We got 2 playoff games today, depending on when you guys are listening to this. Coming up at noon Central on ESPN, it'll be Texas taking on Arizona State in the Peach Bowl in Atlanta. And then later tonight, it'll be Notre Dame against Georgia in the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans. Well, quick note on Texas. There was a report that came out from On3 this week that Quinn Ewers reportedly received a $6 million offer to leave Texas and put the NFL on hold for another year and enter the transfer portal. Of course, Quinn Ewers very busy this week preparing for the Peach Bowl against Arizona State. But kind of interesting on what Quinn Ewers' future will be. A lot of people expect he will declare for the draft and be one of the top quarterbacks in this draft. But I don't know, very interesting thought there. If somebody's offering him $6 million to just, hey, put off the NFL for 1 more year, jump in the portal and come transfer to our school. Certainly something he might want to consider because, look, all signs are Texas is rolling with Arch Manning next year. And if, even if Quinn wanted to come back 1 more year at Texas, you got to think, well, Arch isn't going to sit around and wait another year, even though he's waited fine all this way. But, again, just one of those stories that came out. But excited to see what Texas Longhorns should do. They are heavy favorites against the Arizona State Sun Devils. Expect that big-time defense to step up and slow down Scatabo. Anthony Hill been fantastic for Texas all season long. And excited to see that run game. Trey Wisner and company. But, look, some people saying Sam Leavitt, the quarterback for Arizona State, he's very underrated. So we'll see. And look, you got some ex-Longhorn players over at Arizona State. Jake Smith, Xavier Alford, Zach Swanson. So interesting, a little bit of revenge on the minds of some of those guys. But see, turnovers could be a big key in this one. Arizona State has coughed up the ball only 8 times, tied for the second fewest turnovers in the FBS, while Texas, on the other hand, has forced a nation-leading 29 turnovers. So going to be a fun one. I like Texas to win. I like them to cover. And we will see. It sounds like we could be heading towards, I don't know, wouldn't it be fun to see a Texas-Georgia rematch, an all-SEC national championship, and 3rd time of that matchup this season? We will see. All right, still more to come here on Locked On SEC, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. We'll return a couple of Georgia tidbits and interviews ahead of their game in the Sugar Bowl tonight. That's coming your way in just a sec. Hey, the NFL playoffs are almost here, but it is not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel, so many ways for you to pick up a win on a daily basis. We love betting on which players will score a touchdown and some of those prop bets they got there. Of course, how many points each team will score. It can be a lot of fun over at FanDuel. And they've got all the playoff games up there as well in the college game. And then, of course, coming in the NFL. All you got to do is visit FanDuel.com to sign up today. As FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, roll along here, Locked On SEC, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. And how about the Georgia Bulldogs? They're getting ready for this matchup against Notre Dame. And how about Carson Beck? We know he is done for the rest of this playoffs and announced his plans to enter the 2025 NFL Draft. Well, Todd McShay, longtime NFL draft analyst, thinks Beck is making the wrong decision. On an episode of the McShay Show, he said Carson Beck made a bad decision to leave early. He said, I texted a bunch of guys in the league, GMs, scouts, former GMs, and one scout wrote back to me, foolish. He said, I thought he got better late in the season, but I don't think he's there yet. Played great in certain moments, thought he played better late in the season, but he never this year played to the level that many of us expected him to. So just an interesting thought there on Carson Beck. Of course, he will not be playing in this one, but Georgia Bulldogs coming off their SEC championship win, and of course getting the first round bye, so they did not have to play, had that extra time off. And Kirby Smart hyping up this Notre Dame matchup on Monday. He said, look, their depth, their backups, their starters, their offensive line, their receiving core, their D-line, they are big. So it starts with in the SEC, line of scrimmage, have to have size and girth because you have to take on these teams week in and week out. Notre Dame is built that way. They are built that way on paper. So Kirby could kind of give them some love to Notre Dame, comparing them to an SEC-type school in terms of size. All right, let's get to a couple of our interviews. Caught up with a couple of players over at SEC, or rather Georgia and Notre Dame's media day and Sugar Bowl. A couple minutes here with Georgia defensive back Daylen Everette.
Catching up with Daylen Everette, defensive back for the Georgia Bulldogs here ahead of the Sugar Bowl semifinal. And what's this like, man? Kind of getting some extra time off here to kind of rest up because you guys were playing a bunch of overtime games there for a couple weeks.
Yeah, we were. It's a good chance to get our bodies back to recover, stuff like that.
Talk a little bit about that SEC championship game, making some big plays down the stretch and really getting that recognition for all the hard work you put in. But talk a little bit about that game because, man, you made some big plays.
Well, honestly, without the guys I have around me, none of that happened. So all the stuff that happened in that game, I couldn't have done that without them. So I always put my appreciation towards my teammates and everyone that believed in me and seen that. So,
how much goes into film study and all the work during the week leading up to the game and kind of recognizing tendencies and putting yourself in the right spot?
Really, it's a good tendency to have because, you get that extra prep. You get to prepare. You kind of get to know, get a head start on, what they're doing and stuff like that.
What's the extra time off like? Because talking with a couple of these guys today, they've said, man, we kind of needed it. I mean, we've been banged up all year at all kinds of different spots, but to have that rest and then extra time for preparation, I think it's got to be key, right?
I mean, just like you said, how much they say we need, they right. We need the recovery. We need stuff like that because it's a good chance for guys to get back healthy that we're a little banged up, so we got more. So we got people back and stuff like that. So
talk a little bit about this defensive back room because it feels like you guys all, you send guys to the NFL, and it's next man up, it's next man up. What's this group been like this year, creating this bond and having that trust with each other?
It's a great room. I love the room I'm with, They all love to compete, so we all get each other better. They get me better because, they're working and to help me get better and stuff like that. And just even off the field, we do stuff together all the time. Even after practice, we'll find a way to hang out somewhere off campus or something like that. It's like you'll pretty much see us together everywhere you go. And that's the type bond I really like to have with them. So,
big topic. Obviously, everybody's focused on the quarterback, making the change from Carson to Gunner. But I think Kirby kind of said the only thing Gunner's lacking is the big game experience. He's got everything else. He's got all the talent. What have you seen from him throughout the year, practice and stuff, and that you guys know that he's ready to be the guy now?
Just seeing he's a hard worker. He came in with my class, so I've seen him since his freshman year. He's a hard worker, and he continues to work hard, and he's finally getting his chance. So I have all the confidence in the world in him. I believe in him.
Talk a little bit about the running back room. Obviously, Trevor's been awesome for you guys, but a guy like Nate Frazier stepping up as a true freshman. You guys have been banged up back there, but it seems like those rotation of backs, it's always somebody stepping up and making plays.
We got a lot of young guys that are in that, especially in that room, that are really good. And, when they get in, it shows. So it's really, you're not really missing a beat when the running backs get rotated.
Talk with Daylen Everette. Who's the toughest wide receiver to go up against in practice?
In practice, maybe like Kobe Young. Just, he's a tall guy, big guy. And then another one I'd say like Nitro Tuggle. I probably say out of majority of the receivers, he maybe has the best releases off the line. So those guys, I love to compete against them because they get me better. So.
All right, when Daylen Everette's not playing football, what are you doing?
When I'm doing probably playing video games or fishing or something like that.
You do the NCAA video game?
Yeah.
Oh, did they have you properly rated in that or no?
I mean, yeah, it's a smooth rating, I mean, it don't matter because, I'll just go make myself a 99 or something like that. But, it's fair.
Daylen, thanks so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Also, we were able to catch up with Mykel Williams, big-time defensive lineman there for Georgia.
It's a pleasure to be catching up with Mykel Williams, and we talked through the SEC media days, man, the grind from there till now. It feels like it was light years ago.
Man, right, time flies. Time flies. That's what I learned over these last 3 years, man. Time flies.
What's the season been like? Obviously battling injuries and all that kind of stuff, but man, you're such a difference maker when you're out there. I know it's had to be a frustrating year, I guess, for you.
Oh yeah, extremely frustrating, dealing with all the unexpected injuries, but it's life, man. You just got to roll with it. We here in the end, so yeah, all the ups and downs led us here, so we good. So, yeah, we're in the playoffs with the opportunity to keep going and keep progressing, so we good.
I was going to say those extra 3 weeks of time off had to be great for the whole team, but for you to kind of get rested up, where are you health-wise? 100%, 110%, where are you?
I'm getting closer to 100. Yeah, I'm getting close to 100. That's all I can really say on that.
Talk a little bit about Gunner. Obviously, he's getting all the attention, but obviously, I think Kirby said the only thing he's lacking is big game experience. He's got all the tools and all the skills, but what do you guys see from him kind of throughout the year?
Kind of what you just said, the tools and the skills. Like we've been saying, he came in with me. We're in the same class, so I've been saying this since I came in, since we came in, and he finally got his opportunity to showcase it, and we're 100% behind him as a team. We're excited to see what he does.
Kind of shows when you guys have been putting together these top 2 recruiting classes every year. Like the next man up mentality is real. Like it's when somebody goes down, next man up, and the expectation should be there is no drop off.
It's exactly right. That's exactly what the expectation is, and luckily here at Georgia lately that's how it's been, and we just hope we can continue that and hope that we uphold the standard.
How much did y'all need a break after the multiple overtimes against Georgia Tech and then SEC championship game? Here we go, another overtime. Seems like y'all really needed the time off.
Yeah, man, the time off was key, especially like the first week to actually get our legs back a little bit and rest and recover. And then we also had it almost turned into like a winter camp. Like we had some real hard-nosed physical practices that was needed. So time off was key to help us a lot.
After seeing all those playoff games a week ago, in the cold and snow and all that, I got to think you guys like not just winning the SEC championship, but catching that bye that you don't have to go play in these damn cold weather environments.
Yeah, it was a blessing. I ain't gonna lie, man, because we love the cold, but we're from Georgia. So it was a blessing to be where we are and playing in the Sugar Bowl and in the Superdome, which was a huge, nice, great stadium. And we just decided to be here and play there.
Seen a good bit of Georgia fans already making the trip here or down to New Orleans for New Year's. What have you seen a little bit on the film so far of Notre Dame on the offensive line?
Physical group. The guys are big up front. They're physical, heavy-handed. And then they come downhill well. Like they're a connected group too. You can tell by how they play. They're connected. They're for each other, and I'm excited to play them.
Mykel, stay healthy, man. Best of luck. All right.
Thank you.
Lastly, we've got a couple questions into star running back Trevor Etienne, former Florida Gator. Had a nice year with the Georgia Bulldogs. Here was Trevor Etienne.
Trevor, what's going on, man? How's all this going?
Shut up.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
What you said?
What's all this been like for you so far?
Man, it's been crazy. It's just exciting, honestly. Being able to come back, to your home state, being able to play in one of the biggest games of the year is just blessed.
I'm New Orleans, born and raised here. Give me the real pronunciation of your last name because everybody says it wrong.
I would say Etienne. Etienne.
I've heard Etienne. I mean, there's many.
It's okay. So Etienne and Etienne, it's kind of like the same thing back home.
Yeah, because if you're real New Orleans, it's Etienne. Right?
Yeah. See, but I try to like not even. I'd rather not explain the story, so I just say Etienne and it's.
What's the season been like for you, man? Obviously, battle some injuries, but when you've been healthy and been out there, you've been a difference maker for this team. What's it been like getting adapted to this team this year?
I mean, it's been great, man. Nothing short of amazing. You can't really really use words to describe what we've done as a team and how much these guys has helped me grow as a person and a player. As you look at some of our games, it's like oh, they're going to lose. And then like, you check the score at the end of the game, and it's like they found a way. And I feel like that's really what this team all about, man. You know, it's
For those who can't see, everyone is bombarding Tate Radledge, his teammates, with questions over there. What's it been like getting to know him and this offensive line? That's a big group ahead of you.
Nah, definitely been great. I actually love all of those guys, man. That's actually part of like the group that I kind of really just like embraced me here. No.
Okay, it looks like they're coming this way.
Yeah.
Quick thought, Gunner taking over as the guy now. What have you seen from him all year at practice, and gives you guys trust that he's going to get the job done here?
I mean, just how fearless he is. He's been preparing like he was a starter since day one. So I'm just happy to see what the future holds for him too.
And obviously it's got to help that he got in that SEC championship game and kind of got his feet wet against a really good defense in Texas. I think that kind of helps, right, as opposed to not really playing, at all these last couple weeks.
I mean, definitely. It gives him that kind of experience that he didn't have, but he handled it well. And like I said, I feel like as the season goes on, he's only going to get better. So I'm just excited to see what happens.
What do you like about Coach Bobo and getting to play for him and the system he runs? It seems like it kind of everybody eats in this offense.
Definitely, and I feel like that's one of the great things about our offense. We have a lot of playmakers, a lot of explosive weapons and players that can move the ball, and I feel like he does a great job of utilizing everyone.
Did you have a moment this year where you got the ball, looked up and saw a hole a mile wide and went, oh, damn?
Nah, definitely, man. It's been crazy. My favorite moment from this year, I want to say it was against Mississippi State. Yeah, it was Mississippi State. We were on the goal line, and I almost got stopped. And then all I just started seeing is the O-line pushing me. Michael Morris grabbed me. I was like, yeah, this is crazy. That's one of the craziest moments from this season.
Those guys are so big, they could pick you up and carry you.
Definitely, man, definitely. You just seen them all come around. They all have great personalities. Love them. Look at them. They all down there messing with dope now.
Trevor, thanks for the time, man.
Thank you.
There you have it. Those are some of our player interviews. Thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Shout out to every dayers. Come on back tomorrow on the show and check us out. And hey, for your second listen, you check out Locked On College Football. Spencer McLaughlin does a good job covering all things on the world of college football. Of course, we got you locked right here with all things SEC here on Locked On SEC. Come on back and check us out throughout the rest of this week and the new year.